look at her, isn't she so cute?
When you write a story, you enter the mind of someone else. You create worlds that never existed before. Sometimes those characters, they can feel almost as real as someone that you already know that's in your life. And describing that person on a page and inviting readers to join you in that experience is incredible. But oftentimes, going from here to on a piece of paper is a very hard thing to do. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 tips of what not to do to your heroes or your protagonist. Readers can forgive a multitude of sins. In fact, having flaws with your character makes them more interesting. Now, there are a couple unforgivable sins will make your readers hate your characters. So we're going to talk about a couple of those today. All right, so number 1 is hurting or killing children. If your protagonist is a good guy, they do not hurt children. All right, now there are some movies and some stories we've heard about where a soldier's out and wherever it is they are, and they accidentally shoot a child. Now that is a bit of an exception to the rule because the act was not intentional. And usually that's part of this character's post-traumatic stress disorder. They dream about it, they can't stop thinking about it, and it haunts them. So that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about intentional acts of harm to children. And the same thing goes with animals. If your character hurts an animal, kicks a dog, shoots a dog just for the heck of it, they are not your protagonist. Well, they might be your anti-hero, but they are not the hero of your story. You will lose all credibility with your readers if they perform those 2 acts. Whenever you're thinking about these flaws that your characters might make, always keep that in the back of your mind. Is this a line in the sand that your character's about to cross? And make sure they don't actually do that. So number 2 on our list of don't do this to your character is personality changes. So your character cannot have a massive personality change without cause in the middle of your story. Now, if it's a character arc, that's fine. But if it's just straight out of nowhere, just random twisting of the character's personality, like you're trying to have your anti-hero turn into a hero, you might have some problems. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the new Netflix TV show, Ratched. So spoiler alerts, if you haven't seen this and you plan on seeing it, I am going to talk about a few spoilers here, so go ahead and just skip ahead a few minutes into this video. However, if you are liking this video, be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and also the bell for notifications. Alright, so this TV show, Ratched. Okay, so this character is deliciously evil. Very evil. You're very into it. She's so interesting. About halfway through the season, though, they try to flip the script on its head and make Mildred Ratched a sympathetic character instead of this evil villain. And I guess you could say, it wasn't really a personality flip because she was always this way. They just showed her backstory a little more. No, you're not convincing me of that. Okay, so what happened to Miss Ratched? Well, in some of the earlier episodes, she does a transorbital lobotomy on a witness to a crime. Alright, so what a transorbital lobotomy is, and I'm going to get a little graphic here, so if you have a squeamish stomach, go ahead and skip ahead a little bit. I'm a nurse, so this stuff just doesn't really bother me. So what that is you take an ice pick, you slide it into the eye, so you're going past the eyelid, past the eye itself, because behind your eye is your brain. And you take the ice pick, and you put the hammer at the end of it, and you kind of just pound away through that bone in the back of the eye and into the brain. And you take it and you just kind of wiggle it around a little bit. And so you're severing a lot of those connections inside the brain. It's supposed to treat mental illness. Well, let's just say schizophrenia goes away when your patient can't put together 2 words. Yeah, this isn't how you treat schizophrenia. So you've done that to your patient. Side effects range from very mild, as in so mild that not even the disease they came in for was addressed, to massive apathy, so they no longer care about their situation, to full-on inability to function anymore. So not able to complete general hygiene, not able to feed themselves. So really, it's a horrible thing to do to a person. And here comes Mildred Ratched, this anti-hero who's extremely interesting. It's just so evil. And she does this to a witness to a crime. It's an unforgivable sin. So when the writers tried to later on turn her into a sympathetic character, you can have a great backstory for an evil character and still keep them evil. All right, that I'm okay with. Like, more power to you. But they tried to turn her into the hero of the story rather than the anti-hero after performing an unforgivable sin. And I'm just not buying it. It's just, nope, I don't buy it. You know, so it's kind of like they just pulled the entire character out from under her. So it was unbelievable, and it removed the things that kept you interested in the show to begin with. That's something you just don't want to do to your readers, all right? So if your readers are halfway through your book, they could have put it down at chapter 1, but for some reason they're there. So don't be flipping your characters' personalities. Now, that's not to say don't give your characters a character arc where they have a slow progression and growth. That's acceptable, and that's, in fact, do that. Yes, for sure. Growth in your characters is almost essential, but it's not the same thing as a personality shift, especially a personality shift out of nowhere. All right, so our third rule to keep in mind is to not put your protagonist on the back burner. All right, so let's talk about the Hunger Games for a minute. When they entered the arena, Peeta had become all big and bad and had killed all of the other tributes and won the Hunger Games on Katniss's behalf. Would you have continued to read the story? And the answer to that is probably no. This can happen sometimes if the author doesn't have a full character arc in mind, or they don't have a general idea about where the story is going. They can put that protagonist on the back burner and have things happen around them but aren't actually happening through the actions of the protagonist. Okay, so it's being a very passive protagonist. So give your protagonist some autonomy where they're actively making decisions that impact the outcome of the plot. So as we saw in the Hunger Games, it was Katniss who volunteered as tribute. It was Katniss who had the idea of the berries. So she is the driver, the main force, the active participant of the plot at hand. And that's exactly what you want to see from a good protagonist. So I'm going to give you an example of a bad protagonist who stops becoming the hero in their own story. And that is in The Hobbit. And I'm not talking about the books, okay? So Bilbo Baggins is an active participant in his story all the way through the books. I'm talking about the movies. And one of the main reasons I believe that movie 3 sucked is because Bilbo was up doing who the heck knows what. In the actual novel, this Battle of the Five Armies, it's a very small part of the actual story. But they create this movie out of nothing, and their protagonist and all the other protagonists, the other dwarves you've become connected to over the course of the past 2 movies, yeah, they're up in the mountains doing who the heck knows what, while this massive CGI battle's taking place that nobody cares about. All right, so that is an example of a bad protagonist, where the author did this very thing where they put their protagonist on the back burner and they thought, oh, this is going to be all awesome, but nobody cares because they're not emotionally involved in any of the armies, really. All right, so those are the 3 things you need to not do to your heroes. If you like this content, I have another video coming out in the near future. It's going to be talking about 3 things to create an attachment to your characters. So if you want to see more of that, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. If you like this video, hit that like button, comment below with any of your questions, or if you have any recommendations for future posts. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.